Sarah had never liked the old mansion. It was a relic of her family's past, a place filled with memories both good and bad. The mansion had been abandoned for years, ever since her grandparents had mysteriously disappeared within its walls. Tonight, she was here to retrieve some old documents, a task she dreaded but couldn't avoid. As she stepped through the front door, it creaked ominously, setting the tone for the night ahead. She hesitated, straining her ears to catch any further sounds. The house seemed to breathe around her, each groan and creak amplifying her fear. She told herself it was just the wind, but the voice had felt too real, too close. She shook her head and continued down the hallway, her candle casting long, eerie shadows on the peeling wallpaper. The basement had always been the most unsettling part of the mansion. It was where her grandparents spent most of their time, conducting strange experiments and rituals. She had always been too scared to ask about it, but now she had no choice. The whispers were growing louder, beckoning her downward. Her steps faltered as she reached the bottom, and she took a deep breath before pushing open the heavy, wooden door. Panic surged through her as the eyes locked onto hers. They were not human, filled with an unnatural, malevolent intelligence. She stumbled backward, nearly dropping her candle. The eyes blinked and disappeared, leaving her heart pounding in her chest. She felt a cold breeze brush past her, and she knew she was not alone in the basement. Her breath came in short, sharp gasps. She could still feel the icy touch on her shoulder lingering like a brand. Fear threatened to overwhelm her, but she forced herself to stay calm. She had to find the documents and leave this place. She moved further into the basement, her eyes darting around, searching for any sign of movement. The darkness was absolute, a suffocating blanket that seemed to swallow all light and sound. She groped around, trying to find her candle, but her fingers brushed against something cold and slick. She recoiled, her heart racing as she realized she had tripped over a body. The metallic smell intensified, and she knew it was blood. The mirror showed her a twisted version of herself, her face gaunt and eyes wide with terror. But as she watched, the reflection began to move on its own, raising a hand to point at something behind her. Sarah turned slowly, her heart hammering in her chest, and saw a figure standing in the shadows. The figure stepped closer, and she could make out the features of her grandmother, twisted and decayed. The ghostly apparition reached out a hand, and Sarah felt an icy grip close around her throat. She struggled to breathe, the world spinning as she fought to free herself. Her vision blurred, and she felt herself being dragged towards the mirror. The spectral figures surrounded her, their cold hands pulling her back from the mirror. She could see the torment in their eyes, the endless suffering they endured in this cursed house. "We are trapped," they whispered, "and so will you be if you do not escape now." The grip on her throat loosened, and she gasped for air, tears streaming down her face. Sarah didn't stop running until she reached the safety of her car. She fumbled with the keys, her hands still shaking, and drove away from the mansion as fast as she could. But no matter how far she went, she could never shake the feeling that something was always right behind her, watching and waiting for the moment she would return. The mansion remained, a dark blot on the landscape, and the whispers haunted her dreams, a constant reminder that some doors should never be opened.